The Ukrainian army has struck Russian army positions in the Bryansk region of Russia with a drone using a Fab-250 air bomb. The footage was filmed and shared by the Russian military. As can be seen from the footage, a large aircraft type E-300 Enterprise drone approaches the position of Russian soldiers in the late hours and strikes. Although soldiers of the mobile group of the Russian Army's air defense troops tried to shoot down the drone with small arms, they were unable to do so. The drone, which performed its combat mission, was able to return to the position of the Ukrainian army. It should be noted that the Ukrainian army has been using domestically produced drones that can carry Fab-250 bombs for some time now. These drones are mainly used to strike Russian territory.
Азов, я Пегас, уходит на север. Вижу! Уходит! Азов, я Пегас, уходит на север.
Soldiers of the 25th Separate Airborne Sykes-Lov Brigade took control of the settlement of Klino in the Pokrovsk direction. This was reported by the brigade's press service and shown a video. During the assault recovery operations, the paratroopers cleared the settlement of Russians, the occupation of which would have allowed the Russians to reach the Pokrovsk-Dnepr highway, which is why the enemy had thrown significant forces into capturing it at the time. The Sykes-Lov paratroopers and related units did not allow the Russians to gain a foothold in Klino and drove the occupiers out of its borders. The brigade explained that the occupation of Klino would have allowed the occupiers to reach the Pokrovsk-Dnepr highway, which is why the Russians had thrown significant forces into capturing it. This could have significantly worsened the logistical support of the entire Pokrovsk direction. As the commander of one of the brigade's battalions, Sergei Gera, said, his fighters began carrying out tasks in this direction on January 29. The operation was planned in 4 stages: stabilize the situation, inflict maximum damage on the occupiers, cut off all approaches to the village and occupy it. One assault group entered on foot, but the second entered using vehicles. One of the groups that drove in, it blew up on a mine. Thank God, no losses, well, yes, light concussions, light shrapnel. However, these guys refused to be evacuated, they unloaded. They came in, contact, 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 prisoner, contact, prisoner. Russians don't give a damn about their personnel, said military man Vitaly Sid. In the end, the Sykes-Lov paratroopers and related units drove the Russians out of Klino. After the Ukrainian fighters took up positions, the occupiers are not allowed to approach, they destroy everything on the approaches, Sid said. During the assault operations, the Russians lost equipment as well as personnel. 275 soldiers were killed and 203 were wounded.
The Russian offensive on Pokrovsk, a fortress city that encompasses a string of towns stretching north across eastern Ukraine, continues to drag on, writes Forbes analyst David Axe. According to the conflict intelligence team, Ukrainian brigades recently counterattacked a few miles south of Pokrovsk, recapturing territory around the village of Lysovka and increasing the defensive buffer around the town itself. The successful operation followed a similar Ukrainian counterattack earlier this month on the western side of Pokrovsk. Russian advances around the village of Baranovka, near Pokrovsk, belie a general decline in Russian fortunes on the axis between the ruins of Avdiivka and Pokrovsk. For more than a year, this axis has occupied an important place in Russian military plans. The analyst writes, it is noted that at the end of last year, the Russians reached the outskirts of the city, and there they encountered a real wall of Ukrainian drones. According to CIT, Russian sources attribute the Russian slowdown to the increased concentration of Ukrainian forces, in particular drone units. According to the expert, Ukraine's effective jamming of radio signals often knocks out all but the best Russian drones, fiber optic models that do not rely on radio. To defeat Russian fiber optic drones, which are controlled by long, unfurling cables, Ukrainian drone groups around Pokrovsk have learned to detect long fibers that reflect the sun. Importantly, Ukrainian drones not only harass the enemy's forward forces, but also fly many kilometers behind the front lines to hunt Russian supply trucks making their way along the road toward Pokrovsk. These road cutters have turned one important Russian supply line, the Ocheretino Progress Road, into a graveyard of Russian trucks, vans, cars, and all-terrain vehicles. The road cutters often target the same choke points, hitting vehicle after vehicle and creating piles of debris that hamper traffic. These attacks have significantly complicated Russian military logistics, CIT noted. Feeling defeated, the Russian Federation switches to other targets, explained the Ukrainian Center for Defense Strategies. The Russian command is focusing its main attention not on Pokrovsk, but on the adjacent Novopavlovsk and Toretsk directions.